Well, I have to say, in the entire 34 years of the Acton Institute, we have never had an opportunity to talk about both mixed martial arts and Ludwig von Mises in the same conversation. So you've given us this opportunity to it. This is Renato Moicano, who many of you know, who keep up on mixed martial arts fighting. He comes from Brazil, and Renato has been a professional mixed martial artist from 2010 and currently competes in the lightweight division of Ultimate Fighting Championship. And you just saw a clip of this, rather than boasting about himself at that moment of victory, he decided to deliver a message to the American people about the Constitution. Imagine a Brazilian going to lecture Americans about the US Constitution, private property, and then who? Ludwig von Mises. I'm sure that Amazon sales went right through the roof. Can somebody search Google searches to see how many lookups for Ludwig von Mises was after this man did that? So the clip went viral on social media and even caused a small surge in book sales for Human Action. It certainly got our attention here at the Acton Institute, and that's why you're here today, so welcome. Why in the moment of your victory did you decide to shout out about Ludwig von Mises and private property? I mean, the Austrian School of Economics, what was that about?
Thank you so much, Father. Thank you, everybody that is here. First, I will apologize for my English. I'm still learning, so...
No, the microphone.
Oh, you see, my English... Just excuse me, brothers. Thank you so much, Father, for the invite. Thank you so much, everybody that is here. And I will try my best to speak a clear English, and I will do my best. But
we've got a lot of Portuguese translators in the room.
Yeah,
right now.
That's the good thing. I am surprised. I was surprised at the lunch to see such a good people from Brazil, such leaders and people that push this agenda of free market and liberalism, classic liberalism in Brazil. So I'm really happy to be here. It's an honor. And you're talking about why I say what I say on the fight, but let's talk about the Constitution. Everybody that is Brazilian right now knows the Constitution is a big problem in Brazil because they say we have a lot of rights. And in the American Constitution, it's not about people giving you stuff. It's about freedom. I think it's the most liberal, classic liberal document until today. Is a piece of art, you know, because the First Amendment is so important, not because only free speech, but because freedom of religion. That's the most important thing that America ever come up with, was freedom of religion. Yeah. We have to remember history. We have to remember Europe and England at the time. So if you have a monarchy, you cannot express yourself the way you want. We see the Protestants, you know, they come up to the colonies and they say, let's do everything different from the monarchy. So first, we're going to have freedom of religion and then freedom of speech. Because if you don't have the freedom to speak your mind, you're a slave. And I think that's what America was founded on. And the Second Amendment is very important because to speak what you want, you have to be able to defend yourself, right? You have to be able to defend yourself. And I'm telling you, as a fighter, if you want to be a man, you have to be able to defend yourself not only with your body and defend yourself fighting, but with words too. You have to be smart. And the Second Amendment is that you're free to talk, but you have to defend yourself, and you're gonna have consequences of what you talk. Mm-hmm. And the Third Amendment is private property. And in the free market, in the book of in Brazil they call 6 lessons. In English is different, so that's why there is a confusion on that. But the most important thing in a free market capitalist society is the right of property, because that way you can produce and you can sell what you want. You can do what you want with your things. Once the state and the government owns everything, you don't have a market. You don't have a market. So that's the problem with the economic calculation. I don't know if that's right.
That's right.
But on the book is like that. And what I will be really honest with you. I talk about Ludwig von Mises and the Austrian Economic School because I think I wanted really to talk about Bitcoin. I know a lot of people that like Austrian economics like Bitcoin. Why? Because this is the private money. That's the money that the government cannot seize you. That's the money that is totally you're free to buy and to sell, and you can even, is the only right, is the only property right that we have now. Because nowadays everybody has homes, right? But if you don't pay your taxes, they're gonna take your home. You have cars. If you don't pay the tax, they're gonna take your car. Even your kids, if you don't put them in school, they're gonna take your kids. We saw that on COVID. We saw that, and we are seeing that in Brazil every time. Every time that the government grows, we lose freedoms. And the Bitcoin is the only private property that we have nowadays. Because if I have my keys, if I have my wallet, the FBI can go at my house, and if I have on my mind, they're not gonna steal my money. They're not gonna tax my money. They're not gonna. I'm not saying you to not pay your taxes. Of course, you should pay your taxes, but
just not so many.
Yeah, but again, I am strongly opposing high taxation. Sure. Because we know the Laffer curve, right? Once the government starts to tax you too much, you force people onto like illegality, right? And people find ways. Black market, and people find ways to move the money from the country. People find ways. The money, you cannot play with money. They're gonna always find a way to go to the places that people like money, right. If you know what I mean. And that's why we see the price of the Brazilian real right now, because the instability, the political instability, the way they are treating money and the way they are printing money, they are kicking investors out. So and that's why I talk about the American Constitution, because I feel if the rule is fair, if everybody is playing, is the only way to have a good free market. If everybody play by the book and play by the rules. Because if you are in a place that you don't know, if I don't trust you, you know, we don't have a free market. We have a...
Yeah, why do you feel that the American people needed to hear this message?
And that's why, first of all, because now I'm living here, so I want here to prosper, you know? And that's why many are for... And I feel America is changing, and nowadays we are like the new Americans, you know, because I feel people that are born here and they have a lot of time here and they are living here, they are entitled, and they think the government owes them, you know, they owes them, like, because the handouts, you know, the free stuff that the government is giving people, the social programs. Let me talk about that. Everybody here knows McGregor, right? McGregor is very famous. 10 years ago, he was supposed to fight a fighter in UFC for a title, American fighter. And Conor McGregor, he's from Ireland, but on the beginning of his career, he could not support himself and his family, so he used to take like the unemployment checks from the government, right? And after he becomes successful, he made millions, and then he was always talking about money and talking about cars and talking about that. And he started to talk about money with this guy that was champion. And he said, "Hey, do you remember 5 years ago you were taking money out of the government? You were taking a money that was supposed to be for women with no husbands, you know, women that have children, single mothers. You take money." And then he shut up. Because he knew, and he always mad, like he always good at trash talking, but once you talk the reality and you say, you remember that day, you are taking money off single moms. But nowadays, if you ask a fighter, they're going to take the money anyways, and they're going to say, no, that's good, that's money from the government. We saw that on COVID. I saw people on my gym, they were fighters, and they were not affected by the pandemics, but they were taking money from the government. And they asked me, why you don't take money from the government? Because this is like a disease. Once you start to take money off others, handouts and free stuff, you
like drugs, huh?
It's like drugs, you get used to. So I think that the sixth lesson of Mises, he tells us about what is capitalism, what is socialism, what is interventionism, what is the real inflation that people don't talk about, why investments are so important, and why we cannot detach economics from politics. They are together. They are together because that's the way the politics get elected, inflating our money and spending, trying to push for a certain agenda because they know that's going to get them votes. And they don't care about the money because in the end of the day, more people are power, this is good for them because this is power. Politicians don't care about money, they care about power.
How did you find Mises? This was not a book sitting in the gym.
No.
Although you could do some weightlifting with it, I think.
No, but I'm going to give you a little bit of my background.
Please do.
I am from Brasilia, and Brasilia is the capital of Brazil. And I don't know if you know, probably know, because all you guys are very smart and know your stuff. But Brasilia, it's like, was designed to be like a socialist city. You know, the architect inspired on the old constructions of Soviet Union. If you go to Brasilia, you see the power of the government and you see people serving. And I didn't realize that, but my father, he is a high official from the government in Brazil. He has like a very good job. I think he's 1 or 2% of population in Brazil, like very good money, and he's very leftist. And he always talked to me about how good the government is, how good the spend of the government is not the problem, because in his mind, the government pushed the economy, right? Like the socialists and like even the fascism, you know, this link between some companies and the government, and do the roads and that stuff. So my mind was always like that. But I always had a friend that was like a classical liberal. And he was like 20 people in the room talking about how good the social programs are, how good taxation is to found out that shit. And he always, like, I remember he was 13, 14, and always saying, no, that's not good. We have to value the individual. You have to value private property. You have to value all that stuff. And I always was fighting back. But then I start to work, you know. I start to work. And I thought, government is good. People should be free to do whatever they want. But that's not reality. Because what's the reality? We're born in the world, and if you want to do something different, you have to work and do something different. Otherwise, you're going to be only a normal guy. So nowadays, the thing that I understand and I see is changing in society is this. Because like even on the Bible, right? After Adam and Eve, they got expelled of the paradise, God say, now you have to live off your sweat. You have to work.
But he had told them to work even before. What happens to work after sin is that it becomes toil.
Exactly.
Before, work is dignified.
Exactly.
You know, and God worked on the first page of, you know, and he puts them in a garden, not in a jungle. You have to work in a garden. You till the foil. So there's a lot of this economic stuff right there in the Bible.
Exactly, and that's why I think there is a parallel between Adam and Eve and become old, becoming a growth. Because when they bite the apple, they become self-science, right? They understand, they become like God. And I feel this is like, and that's why I don't remember who said that, but somebody very important said that socialism is the children's disease, right? It's like when you're child, everybody that is child, you think that's good, that socialism is good. But once you grow, you understand.
It was Bismarck. He said, when you're a socialist, when you're young, I know this quote and now I can't think of it. Yes, how does it go? Yes, when you're socialist, you have a heart. But when you're young, yeah, right. We'll get it before the end of the conversation.
Yeah. Not me, because my English is not good, but...
Obviously, mine isn't either.
But my whole point here is, this is like a stages, right? You see the world in a certain way, and when you become an adult, when you start to work, when you start to pay taxes, and when do you start to see that society is not fair, and it's not designed to be fair. Nobody is equal. We cannot have the same outcome if you are different. And then I start to realize that, and I say, okay, so I always was fascinated about history, and I got a little bit into philosophy, and then that pushes me to other stuff. But to talk about to answer you about Mises, once I moved to the USA, I start to learn about investments. Once I got money, I say, okay, I have to do something with my money, and then I start to buy courses of stocks and start to buy Bitcoin, but not for the right reasons, you know. Because now I buy Bitcoin as a hedge, you know, to try to prevent inflation, to try to take money out of the market. But back in the day, I was just thinking about speculation, you know, to make money quick. And I was going through these books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then start to learn like Warren Buffett and try to understand economy. But then one concept that I realized, I don't know how to say that in English, but it is a curva de juros negativa.
Negative interest.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, in the end of the day, the state is robbing you of your money through inflation. Yeah. And they say that and Ludwig von Mises explained that very well in the book. Yeah. And I think the book resonates so much to me because that was not supposed to be a book. Those were palestras. Talks, right?
Talks.
6 days of talks. So.
Oh yes. At New York University, I think.
Yes, yeah, on Argentina, right? Buenos Aires.
Oh, Buenos Aires, yeah.
Buenos Aires. So it's very easy. He go through the topics and he explained that, and then from there I start to go to other authors and try to understand. But he said that inflation is not the CPI, it's not what they say, because they pick and choose the products to set the inflation. The inflation is the monetary base, right? It's printing more money. So it doesn't matter if you make a lot of money in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and we've seen that with the reais, and we see that before. They're gonna tax your money if you save. So people that are saving money are losing money. Right. So that's push you to gamble with your money. So that's why people have to go to stocks. People have to buy real estate, even if they don't understand. Because remember, I'm a fighter. I'm not a smart guy. I am like.
No, you're not a smart guy.
No, but I mean, I'm not an economist. I didn't went to a
prestigious. But you were in law school, no?
I was in law school because of my father. Because of my father, right? Because he wanted me to have because it's hard to say that, but I still think we have to try to get educated in real things, you know? And like the 6 lessons of Mises and Mises say, you have to understand your passion, you know? Because if you live in a free market society, what you want gonna be decided by you, and then you're gonna excel. And that was not me with the law school, you know? I was forced, so I didn't like at the time. But once I stopped to to do the law school, I say, now I like it, you know, I think it's just because I was forced. So that's why I think this book resonates a lot with me, because I think everybody that has religion background know what is right and what's wrong. Maybe they cannot theorize about that, but deep down we know what is right and what is wrong. And I think Austrian economic school is just that. It's just the reality of things.
If you're not a socialist when you're young, you have no heart. If you remain a socialist when you're old, you have no brains.
Exactly.
I've been quoting that for years, and it just wouldn't come out. So how did you get into martial arts?
My mother got me in judo when I was 8.
Brazilian judo?
No, judo.
Just judo.
Just judo, and because I was like my son. I didn't bring my son because he would be screaming over here. So
he's as bad as the rest of the Brazilians.
Yeah. I was very energetic, and then she put me on the martial arts, and then so I have been doing martial arts for all my life and changed my life, give me discipline, something that socialists don't like, hierarchy, right? Nowadays people are trying to mess the whole hierarchy system. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about that.
Yes.
How hierarchy.
I believe in hierarchy.
Yes, yes. And then I start to compete, and that was very good for me because...
How old are you now when you were doing this?
Now?
No, when you were doing
8.
this. You were 8 years old when you were doing this.
8 years old.
Okay.
So I have been training all my life, to be honest, all my life, every day. And that's why I always say, if you are an athlete, if you are a fighter, you cannot be socialist, you know? Because nobody gonna hand out wins to you. You have to fight hard. And that's why we see a lot of, like I was saying, I was on the lunch listening to the Brazilians talk, and usually they are entrepreneurs, right? They have businesses, they own stuff, they have real estate, they have hotels. And these people know what the real economic is. No, they know the value of... We were talking about that with the church, right?
Yes.
Before, we were talking about that. Some people, they don't understand the concept of the classical liberalism because they don't have to deal with money.
Yeah.
But once you have a business, and I had several businesses, I had a gym, I had a lot of stuff. I have been doing business for a long time, and this is real. If your product doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. Right. Nobody gonna, unless you are friends with the government, they're gonna subsidize you.
Well, pastors only have to collect money, and then we redistribute it. And if there isn't enough money in the collection, then we come back and we preach guilt.
Exactly.
Get more money and redistribute it again. This is not the image in the Bible, right, of creation. The impresario. God is the impresario on the first page of the Bible. So why does UFC, and I suppose mixed martial arts and things like that, it seems that there are a lot of conservatives who are attracted. Do you find a lot of conservatives in that environment?
I think 99% of people are conservative, very conservative. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know even...
Yeah, but their instincts.
Yeah, their instincts. Because of that, I think to be a classical liberal or to be a liberal or conservative, I think it is like your personality. Mm-hmm. You know, if you like to compete, I think probably you are a conservative. You know, if you like to compete, you're probably going to be a classical liberal because you like that things. But if you have like a personality more towards like artistic stuff, you know, no, not because of that. Because look, I saw Jordan Peterson talking about that. Like in Sweden, they had these programs, right, trying to do equality with men and women in salary, right? But they realize even if they given the same salary, women tend to go more to like nursery and stuff because I don't know if it's because they are mothers, but the instincts of her is more like to care about people, and men tend to care more about stuff, right? like, you see, like, a guy usually like cars and stuff, and it's different. And women are more like attached to emotional stuff. So
Yes.
I think it's the same thing with politics. If you are very competitive, and if you are like, if you are carry too much about other people, you tend to see people that like to make money as bad. There is a sense that is cultural and religious too, but my opinion is most of the people that have to fight hard for the money, they tend to be more conservative.
And close to this is the number of men. I mean, do you see yourself as a role model for men?
I would not put me on the category saying like I'm a role model, because I will be honest with you. To me, the role model to all men is like Jesus Christ. I think that's the, you know, I don't know, and I'm not trying to be humble over here. It's because it's very hard. If somebody slap your face, you give your other face, right? That's
You don't do that on the ring.
I don't do that. That go against my policies. If I do that, I would be out of business.
If you
And
do
like
that,
I say, I love money.
If you would do that, you would be a socialist.
Yeah, 100%. But they just say that. They don't do that.
No,
Because,
right,
yeah,
right.
they just say that. But my whole point here is, and that's why, going back what we were talking about in the beginning, I like free market. I like liberties. I like freedom. But I think religion is the most important thing. Because if you don't have a society that believes that you're going to be held accountable after death, it's like nihilism, right?
Away.
What's the point?
You get away
And
with
at one
anything.
point I was reading like philosophy, and I was reading Nietzsche, and I said, what's the point of winning and losing? Nothing makes sense. And that was like the worst 2 years of my life. Every day I would wake up and say, okay, I'm training, but for what? I'm gonna win, and then when I die, it's going to be the same thing that people that didn't do nothing, right?
Right.
So what's the point?
Right.
But then I start, this is just an easy way for people. This is just an easy way. So if you don't know what you like to do, what is your purpose, it's better say, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in nothing, I'm just gonna be lazy and gonna feel for myself. I think most of people, they just feel for themselves, but not me.
Well, let me ask you what might be a difficult question. And you brought up the relation, the priority of God, of the transcendence in your life, even though there's the importance of making money and economy. And that you've said before the importance of ethics in economics and in business. You're in a business. You're in a particular type of business.
The hurt business.
You're in the hurt business. Well, that's the ethical question I want to ask you. Do you ever have any qualms? Because I'm sure there are going to be people here who are going to say, you know, your goal in your work is to hurt somebody. Well, how do you deal with that ethically?
I don't know if people...
And don't hit me for asking.
No, 100%.
Because then I got to hurt you.
I will try my best to speak that in a parable. Parable?
Parable.
Parable. Do you remember when Jesus told the disciples about the workers on the vine?
The vineyard.
The
yes.
vineyard?
Yeah, I have a chapter on that in my book.
Exactly. That's a parable that I like a lot.
Yeah.
What the parable means? That a contract between two guys, two individuals, they should be respected. If Jesus say, the workers, I agree with you. One, what's the name of the currency? Denario, yes.
Denario.
Before they work, they say, I'm gonna give you 1 denario, and he give you 1 denario for the guy that worked the whole day, and the guy that worked like
same thing.
Same thing. But this is the contract, right? They decide that, and they say, that's my money, I can do whatever I want. This is just the first contract, you know? Yeah. And when you're fighting to face me, the guy signed the contract, and they say, I agree with the same rules as you. If I went to a street and beat somebody that was not agreeing to fight with me, that would be morally wrong. But I'm fighting a guy that agreed on the same terms than me. We're just competing. So I don't feel any remorse. To be honest, sometimes, back in the day, I used to feel sorry for my opponents. I'm not trying to be a
You got over that. You got over that.
No, I got over. No, you know, because let me tell you something. I was 11-0 in my professional, and I was beating up everybody. And I was not feeling sorry for them because I didn't know what losing was like. You know? And then 11-1, and I lost in a very bad fashion here in USA. 3 rounds, I got beat up, I broke my face. And then my family was so sorry for me, and then my wife was so sad. And then I realized, man, I did that to people before. You know? So then I start to realize that there is some aspects of life that you just can understand when you go through. But in the end of the day, it's just my job. I don't have nothing against my opponent. I don't have nothing against him. I'm just trying to be as effective as I can be on the ring. And after the fight, I don't hold any grudges. It's just the professional that God chose me to be.
It's not personal.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I always talk to God and say, seja feita a sua vontade. I don't know how to say that in English.
We have a Brazilian to translate that for us. Oh, thy will be done. Fiat voluntas tua. Yeah. What do you think accounts for socialism, the attraction of socialism to people?
Is that's easy to answer. People have been answering that for a long time, but I will give my response on that. Because it's easy. It's easy. It's easy. What is the easy? What's the difference between go over there, hold the responsibility, see what you're doing wrong, see what you're doing right? Because I'm not saying society is equal, and I'm not saying everybody will prosper, because that's not the reality. The reality, Jesus said that most of people are slaves by their own nature, right? Most of the people, they're not going to achieve anything because they think like that. I think if you go to somebody and say, hey, you want to be better, you have to work, you have to do that. It's easy just say, no, the fault is the system, the fault is another people. I don't have a chance because nobody gave me a chance. But let me tell you something. Even though my parents, they had money, they were in a good, they have stability, nobody gave me nothing because even my fathers, they didn't want me to fight. But they didn't want it. They say, no, don't do that. Why are you doing that? So I had to go to the gym and don't tell them. My first fight, I didn't tell nobody because if I tell, probably they would not let me to go. So actually, they are trying to disincentivize me. And so I am proud to say that everything that I got, I work for, and I still work for. And now I have ways to provide for my family, for myself. And I like to talk about Mises, Austrian economic and politics and all that stuff because I feel it's my duty. I have to try to talk to people that still don't understand that a free market liberalism and like a good judiciary system is the best way to have a country.
You said in an interview somewhere that something is wrong with America. What's wrong with America?
The sense of entitlement, you know, the sense of entitlement. We have to remember, I think with Marxism, and not only Marxism, we talk about a lot of the way people are demonizing like
Wealth, the rich.
wealth, the rich, but not only that, o anacronismo, né? They trying to see the past with today's lens, right? So they say everything is wrong is because racism, everything is wrong because we had slavery. Of course, that is bad. That is bad, but nobody here is in favor of that. That was just a fact. But we have to see, like, people that flee from Europe and come over here or in Brazil to spread the gospel, or even to have their own colonies and everything they did. And back in the day, people was not relying on the government. I think the problem with America, it's because, look, I talk about constitution, I talk about Europe, I talk about the monarchy in Europe and how they were oppressing people. I'm not saying monarchy is bad. I'm saying people are bad. People are bad. People are bad. So that's why we need system to control people. And I think religion is a kind of system to tell people what is bad and what's wrong. But nowadays, people don't know what is bad and what is wrong. And my problem with is that America was born on, like, untrust on the government. That's why each state has their own
Distrust for the government.
Distrust for the government.
Yes.
That's what I want to say.
Right.
You know, so that's why even on the Federalist Papers, they were trying to convince each state to go in a federal government. So everybody gonna have their own rights, but we have to have a president and a federal government to, let's say we go to war, this federal has to control. So you see, in 1776, everybody was distrustful of the government because they knew the power tends to grow. But nowadays, I see people not only liking the government, but saying government is good, and not only saying it's good, like government is feeding them with information, false information, all kind of crazy stuff, and they just think, no, they are good, they are people, government is people. And I know we have a lot of politicians over here, and I used to think politicians were the most smart people, right, that we had, but that's not the case. I don't want to talk about, because everybody's different, but if you, like we are talking about French Revolution, right, back before we are here, and in the end of the day, it's just group of pressure. People unionize, and people say, this guy gonna represent me, and he make false promises. So a lot of people, I can talk for Brazil, a lot of people that are in Congress, they cannot even read properly. We have a congressman in Brazil that they had to make a test to see if he can read, like Tiririca. Everybody knows about that. He was like a really, I'm not trying to talk shit about him, but I say, I want to say, a guy that cannot read, how can he help us? Like, how can he be representing us? You know? So it's just a reflect of society, you know, because we want to see people like us representing us. So that tells us that we need a lot to work on ourselves, you know. So I think the problem with America today is people don't know where the money comes from, and they don't distrust the government. By the other side, they love government nowadays. And as government can print as much as money they can, they're going to give handouts to people, but they're going to destroy the money of middle classes and people that really work through inflation. That's the problem with America, inflation, the whole world. And not only America, the whole system is broke. The legacy system is broke on the finances, because if you go to the debit in each country, they spend more than they get from taxes. So how that gonna work? Like if you have the notion of, let's say in my house, if I spend more money than I have, I'm gonna be broke and I'm gonna have money, but not the government. Not the government, because they can print more, but they do that and they destroy the currency. And we saw that in Rome, you know. Rome was not destroyed only by the barbarians, but was because the money they were counterfeiting, right? The silver, they are counterfeiting. And many, many times we saw that. We saw that on the First and the Second War in Europe too, when they were trying printing money to fund the wars. And it's just become a problem. And I think America love wars too. So they're gonna found every and each war because the complex military industrial, they have a lot of lobbyists and they elect the politicians, and the politicians gonna make laws for these people. So I think the system is broken.
You reminded me that Margaret Thatcher once said that the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Exactly.
So tell us about Menos Marx, Mais Mises movement in Brazil. Did I pronounce that all right?
Yes. It's a movement in Brazil that Mises is very strong in Latin America. I think even bigger than here in USA. And I think one of the reasons is because hyperinflation. We have been to hyperinflation before in Brazil, and we saw how that destroyed the country. Venezuela, Argentina. So I think people that have a small, have notions of economics, they know you have to have responsibility with the money, with but we see the governments, the socialists, they don't do that. We are seeing that in Brazil right now. The debt, they're not gonna stop spending money. So that's why I think everybody, if you want to talk about politics, if you want to talk about economics, you should read Mises. And I know a lot of friends that they went to the Brazilian university, the Free University. They don't teach Austrian economics. They teach Keynes, right?
Or Marx.
Or Marx, yeah. Or like, and everybody will. And these professors, they're gonna talk about how good is the debt in the government. But in the end of the day, like we were saying in the beginning, they don't know money. They don't know money. So if you don't, how can you talk about money and not know about money?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Easily.
Easily.
They
because
do
socialists,
it.
they're going to say, I can do that, but they can't.
You have a podcast in Portuguese and in English. Tell us about that. Promote that.
Thank you so much. I have a podcast in Portuguese. The name is Renato Moicano Podcast, and I talk about a little bit about classic economic. I talk about MMA. If you guys like MMA, I do some lives I did with Hélio Beltrão, a very well-known classic liberal in Brazil. Fernando Urich, economist, and another politicians from the Partido Novo. So I have couple. When I speak in Portuguese, I can speak better. So I try to talk.
You're doing pretty good.
Because you don't see in Portuguese. My English is still broken, but I'm still learning. One day I will be.
The thing you have to remember about Americans is that at least my generation, we grew up with a family that spoke broken English.
Yeah.
So.
No, I don't have any problem.
So how would they find your podcast?
Renato Moicano Podcast no YouTube, and in English I have Money Moicano, but then I talk more about MMA. So if you like MMA, but I want to point something out. I have a website that I sell like T-shirts, Money Moicano, and I have a very good T-shirt that say Money Moicano stands for freedom, and I think that's it. And if you guys want to check it out and see if you like, buy some and help me. If not, that's okay, because on free market, if you don't like the product, don't buy.
Very good. Very good. Let's open this up for discussion. I have a hunch that people may have some questions, and the way we will do that is, do we have microphones roving, or they're on either side? Oh, I see them here. There and there. So if you want to just come up to the microphone, no long-winded speeches from you preachers, just questions. Go ahead.
I have two questions. One is, what is a freedom-enhancing habit that you have in your daily life? So something you do on a daily basis that you think enhances your freedom. And then as a fighter, looking back onto the 2020 nonsense, what did we miss in terms of us allowing the lockdowns to happen and to go on for so long? What's something we could learn about that experience to fight back next time they try that?
That's a very good question, especially the 2020, because I born in '89, right? So I born in Brazil. We have problems, but we have a liberal democracy. And when I was kid, I thought that was the world, right? I thought we could choose our elect officials and everybody could be free, but that's not the world, and that comes with a cost. In 2020, we saw that the enemy is at bay. You know, the enemy is at bay, and the government, if you give government power, they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it, and we saw that. They take our freedoms in name of something greater, but it's always like that. They say we have to protect you, we have to keep you safe, but in the end of the day, they want more power. So in 2020, we saw that people choosing to not think by themselves, but to obey, because they are too afraid to think by themselves. And the first question, I don't remember.
A habit that enhances your freedom each day.
I think I try to learn something new every day. Every day. Maybe from YouTube, maybe from a book, maybe from somebody. I always try to, when I ask something, I try to really listen. And always, it's been good with me. It's been a good practice for me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent talk. Thank you for coming tonight, really. It's no secret that a lot of young men today, I'm 20 myself, but even younger than me, that a lot of people find young men, maybe specifically in America, to be weak compared to 20 years, literally just 20 years ago. Talk about 50 years ago, now it's a whole other conversation. What kind of message, my question is, what kind of message do you have for young men like myself or even younger, specifically Americans?
Don't let them bully you, son. You have to fight back, you know? I don't like this narrative. I know a lot of young men, they say that I don't have any like models, and people are trying to push this agenda. Fight back, make your money, because money is power. If you have the money to live the life and to provide for your family, don't think about other people. But I think, me personally, I think you should train a fight. I think you should have a gun, and I think you should make some money, because
You say there's never too much ammunition or too much gold.
That's why, yeah, that's why I like Florida. Once they try to take your gun, you be suspicious about that, because every place they try to take the gun, you know what's coming.
Hey, good afternoon. I wanted to ask you about being in the public eye, being what you would call famous, and spreading ideas that are not necessarily in line with the cultural narrative. If you have seen some additional difficulties in that, the backlash, and if it looks like an UFC ring, but out there, you know, in the cultural battle.
When I started to fight, I wanted to be famous. And I was like doing good. And then when I lost, everybody talked shit on me. And then I started to win again. And then I fought a guy really famous in Brazil, people like a legend. His name is José Aldo, a champion. And I lost to him. And that was devastating for me. And then I realized people's opinion don't matter. They don't matter. Because if they like you just because you're famous, or because you have money, or because you're winning, they don't matter. Because once you lose, they're going to abandon you. So me personally, I think everybody should focus on your family, on people that they are behind you, your community, maybe your father, your religion, people that like you, you know. So I don't care too much about being famous. So I don't care about what I say, because if people don't like, it's their problem, not mine.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dennis. I come from India. I've been following you on Twitter, X. So I've noticed you sharing Students for Liberty posts on Twitter. I really appreciate that. I hope you work with such organizations both in Brazil as well as, you know, maybe outside of Brazil, like in Latin American countries. Is there anything that, you know, are there organizations that you work with, you know, or similar organizations that you want to support, where they're actually educating students with the ideas that you were talking about, or Mises, or Hayek, or, I don't know, Rand? Yes. So do you have such resources that you share and work with, organizations that you work with?
I think, like Ludwig von Mises always say, like people talk about individual freedoms, but it all comes to economic freedom. Once you have like economic freedom, you can do whatever you want. You can choose what you want. And I am proud of that message, you know. But again, I think we are in trouble, because if people are looking to me explain this, that's fucked up.
Tells us something about the state of affairs, doesn't it? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to just go back to this side, because now you have a politician you can fight with. This is a politician from your home country. So, oh, there are good politicians, are there?
Yeah.
If they go to confession.
No, no. That is good and bad politicians, because like I say, it's not politicians, it's people. People are bad. You have to educate yourself. You have to be, but we have to say if they are good or they are bad for their actions, not what they say.
Right.
So.
Well, let's see what he says.
Let's see what he says. But doesn't matter, it's the actions.
That's it, that's it.
Thank you. Well, but I have to agree with Moicano when he says that most politicians, you know, actually, we have to be humble, everybody, also politicians, to know that we don't know everything. Actually, we know so little, and we have to come to events as this, and that's why I'm going to ask you the following question. We were talking with the Brazilian group just during lunch, and this is the second largest group of participants from any country in the world. Just America has more participants in this event. So we see everything going, you know, wrong in our country, in Brazil. You are Brazilian, you know quite well what's going on in Brazil right now. But I would like to know how do you feel when you see so many Brazilians here, and what is the future for Brazil? What kind of motivation would you give to Brazilians who are here, and also for other countries, you know, that have representatives here, that have people visiting, and then want also some change in their countries for the better, as we want in our country, Brazil?
You have people here right now from Venezuela and from Argentina. I don't know about Nicaragua this year. Last year we had Nicaragua. So, you know, this is Latin America that's struggling with these kinds of ideas.
And Moicano is a great example for us too, so we're very happy to have you here, and all Brazilians are very proud of what you've been saying about our country, in the sense that, you know, that you have hope for Brazil. Thank you so much too.
No problem. And that's it. I was reading a book about the beginnings of Brazil, and we know what is going on in Brazil. It's like patrimonialism. The politicians, they call here like the deep state in America, and they want to keep the country as like the same. And like what I like about America, and I think is different between Brazil, is America was like the empire of the law. Nobody's above law. In Brazil, we know that's not true. Some people are above the law. Some people can do whatever they want. And not only the politicians, but sometimes when I tell, you guys are not going to believe that. It's going to be very hard for me to explain, but there is a guy, I'm not even talking about politics, but just to contextualize, there is a guy in Brazil that killed more than 200 people. And he went 30 years in the jail, and they let him out. Because they say, no, this guy cannot be 30 years in jail. It's too cruelty. This is cruelty with him. And the guy killed 200 people. One message that passed to the people. The message is you can do whatever you want. And the politicians are worse. We saw what is going on in Brazil. We saw some people are getting silenced. And we saw what happened on X too. That's a very important thing to talk. And some people are even afraid to talk about that. But in reality, in Brazil, some people are above the law. Some people are above the law. And that's why I'm saying America is going in the same direction, because we are seeing government and officials using the machine against opposition. And that's very bad. Once you start to target your opposition, you're not a republic. The game is not fair. The game is rigged. And again, I'm going to talk about the Constitution of the USA, because how many years the Brazilian Constitution has? 35? Very little. Very little. And it's not a strong document as the American. So you guys have to keep the Constitution safe, because that's the rule of the game. And in Brazil, I like to see people talking about liberalism, but in my opinion, the only way out is individualism. Individualism. You have to do whatever you can to save yourself, to save your family, and then help others. It's like swimming. If you don't know how to swim and you try to save others, you're gonna drown. So that's what I did. I'm trying to save myself. Now I have a little bit more money. I have a house. I have investments. I have stuff. So I'm not too worried about what I'm gonna eat tomorrow. So I can try to help and to spread the word. So my message over here is nobody can do that for you. You have to fight. And you guys know that, because you all guys are classical liberals and you like Austrian economics. You know the responsibility of your life is yours. And that's why I like religion too, because it's not only going to the church that you're going to be saved. You have to do by yourself. You have to change yourself. Doesn't matter if your grandmother or if your mother prays for you. If you don't change, you're not going to be saved.
They say God has no grandchildren.
God has no grandchildren.
This is probably going to be the last question because we're running out of time.
Hi, my name is Lucas. I'm from Brazil. First of all, I would like to thank you for your excellent speech. You are an inspiration for everyone who fights for more liberty. As you know, in Brazil, we are now seeing the rise of the cancel culture and this wave of censorship promoted by the Supreme Court. And because of cancel culture, many people have lost their jobs, their sponsors, because they decided in some moment to expose their political views in public. My question is, did something similar happen to you when you decided to speak about Mises, about the Constitution, and how to deal with it?
No, because like I say, I think for some people, being canceled is even good, because sometimes people see that that's not fair. You know, they are trying to cancel somebody that didn't do nothing wrong. And like I said before, I don't care. I don't care. If they cut my sponsor, I will still be fighting. And it's like my duty as a father and as a man to provide for my family. So even if I'm not fighting anymore, I will drive Uber, you know, I will do something. I don't care. I don't care. Of course, I don't want to work. I'm doing this to be set for life. But I have responsibilities. And I'm not going to stop to say what I want to say, afraid of somebody cut my paycheck.
Thank you. Renato, what a delight to have you with us. Thank you for your generosity of coming, and you can tell how you're in your element. So thank you once again. Let's thank Renato.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Obrigado. Muito
obrigado. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys, for this torture to the ears.